when I started selling real estate, I had a really tough time the first bunch of years. I was very unsuccessful.
What are the current biggest struggles you see among, multi-agent broker owners, and what's usually the root of it?
I think the first place they get into trouble is accepting that in a low transaction market, they shouldn't be profitable. It's okay to break even or lose money. And the answer is it's not. One of our core competencies is retention and productivity. And loyalty is what drives retention. And there's three core, what we call pillars of retention.
If you're a broker owner in a low transaction market wondering, shouldn't I at least be breaking even by now? This episode is for you. Einhorn has 41 years in real estate, has coached brokers through multiple real estate recessions, and built the coaching company he wishes he had when he was about to lose everything. Today, he's breaking down why this is actually the best time to own a brokerage, the 7 core competencies of a profitable brokerage, and how top broker owners are winning in the long real estate winter. So let's jump in.
So when in our last episode with Norma Rawlings, your partner, we talked about what goes into buying or selling a brokerage, right? Now, you help broker owners build the kind of business that actually ready for that step. How did you get into this space, and what inspired Inner Circle broker coaching?
Well, it was inspired many years ago, Thomas. I started selling real estate out of high school. I've been in real estate 41 years. And when I started selling real estate, I had a really tough time the first bunch of years. I was very unsuccessful. And I had to figure that out myself, had to figure out kind of how to do it myself. And as an agent, that's tough, but I had the same experience as a broker. And it's way harder as a broker because you have a lot more costs. And so I got in the brokerage business and I struggled for 2 or 3 years and almost went bankrupt. And it was an extremely stressful time for me and my family. And at the end of it all, I figured out the secret sauce to driving growth and scalability and profit and brokerage. And I made a commitment to myself way back then, Thomas, that nobody else should have to go through what I went through. And so I decided to start a coaching company that I wish I had when I started.
Nice. Well, I guess we'll have a little bit of that secret sauce today on the episode of Icons Real Estate Podcast. And I mean, you're on the mission, to make sure that nobody goes through what you're going through. I can tell you that you haven't reached your mission yet, Wayne, because there's people listening right now that they're going through struggles and that they're looking possibly for your advice to turn the tide. So we can understand, even, of course, from your own experience and for the experience that you've seen through your clients, what are the current biggest struggles you see among, multi-agent broker owners, and what's usually the root of it?
There's a couple things. I mean, right now in the United States and Canada and North America, frankly, we're in what I call a low transaction market. And, if you look at the transactions in the United States, Thomas, we're probably going to finish up less than 4 million transactions this year, which is less than 2008. And that's relevant to both agents, frankly, and brokers, but because that is the most important number. We get paid on number of transactions. And we often talk about, the inventory is swelling and days on market is higher and the selection's better. And that all drives buyer behavior. But at the end of the day, it's the number of transactions that occur that drive our business. And your question was, where do people get into trouble? I think the first place they get into trouble, Thomas, is accepting that in a low transaction market, they shouldn't be profitable. It's okay to break even or lose money. And the answer is it's not. We've got to be profitable in every market. And there's a different formula for profitability in a low transaction market. We look at them as 4 markets, 4 types: low transaction, medium transaction, high transaction, and then, of course, the transition between low and high and low, which we just went through the transition, of course, in 2023. But really, you've got to be profitable. You've got to figure out how to drive profitability.
That's why we do this, right? We don't do this for fun. And it's first, of course, like, we need to accept in the market that we are. But since you've been doing this, Wayne, have you navigated then through different markets? Have you been into this situation before? Like, are you ready for war, basically?
That's a great question. I'm very fortunate, Thomas. I've been 41 years in this business, and I think there's two things that drive my fortune that I'm very grateful for. Frankly, one is that I'm a student of history, and I find that history has a eerie habit of having a similarity. Always being similar. And I've been through three major real estate recessions, and the last big one in the United States, of course, was 2008. I'd been coaching by that time for 6 years. And so I helped brokers navigate through that successfully and get out the other side and become profitable. And it's interesting because as we went into this current real estate recession at the end of 2022, every year I have what I call bold predictions for all of our members, and I forecast next year's market transaction count. And at a time, Thomas, when all the pundits were saying interest is going to go down and the market's going to be up, I remember one fella from NAR said 18%, the market's going to be up 18%. My opening slide for our members was an iceberg, and I called the presentation The Long Real Estate Winter. That was in December of 2022. Because back to being a student of history, I don't know if you've ever had this experience, Thomas, but it's like watching the rerun of the movie. And I felt like, hey, I've been here before and I know what's next. And so that's really been a great help to me and to our clients, having lived those experiences.
Nice. And yeah, and then you can save the others from winter as well. And because we can survive winter, right? And it's only
Stop
only a
them
matter
from
of time
freezing
until
to death. That's what we'd like to do.
So you were saying, obviously, kind of the first step into being successful or profitable in this market situation, low transaction market for broker owners, is to acknowledge the situation, right? This is where I'm stand. This is where I have. What would you say is the next step, right? Because it's obviously acknowledging comes from looking in the mirror and accepting the situation. Now they still have a brokerage to own. They still have agents that rely on them. What is some steps that they can go through on making sure that they're ready for this?
Well, I think the first thing we've got to do is kind of frame how we ought to think about a brokerage. And so our most successful brokers, I formalized this about 10 years ago. Our most successful brokers, Thomas, focus on 7 key business areas. We call them the 7 core competencies of a real estate brokerage. And the 7 core competencies, the center is leadership of the business. And in leadership of the business, we create the goals for the business. And so let's say we create the goal. As you said, we want to be profitable. And we want to figure out exactly how much. I'll talk about that in a sec. But the second core competency is what we call business model or profitability. And that's really where we have to focus in that transition market. And in today's market, if you're either not profitable, if you're break even, or maybe if you're profitable but not best practice, then there's 5 economic drivers, Thomas, 5 what I like to say levers that I can pull in the brokerage business. And that's it. There's not 6 or 7, there's 5. And I've got to understand what those 5 drivers are. And I have to start setting targets and working on those 5 drivers to drive the outcome of that margin. One other thing I'll say really quickly, in the real estate brokerage business, I don't know why this is, but we don't talk about margin as an industry. So I don't care what industry, if you were in it, Thomas, if you and I went and started a hardware store, I don't know why I thought about that. But if we started a hardware store, they would tell us what the margin should be, right? And they would tell us how much to charge for our screws and screwdrivers and all that stuff, and how much we ought to spend on inventory. That money, that model or that information is not available in the real estate industry widely. And so we've created that. And so looking at that business model, we can tell brokers, hey, this is exactly what your business model is.
Yeah, because it's a business, right? There's a lot of possible transitions that you've seen yourself that is just people that they see that as the natural next step as an agent, right? Well, I've been an agent for a few years. Let me get my broker's license, right? Because it's what I have to do. But it's if you don't have that business mindset, right? You're missing all of that margin talk, profitability, and business model.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no school we can go to. It's interesting because if you think about broker getting certified as a broker, or frankly, an agent, it's the same. But if I think about a broker, how when we go to broker school, so to speak, we get our broker's license. What they do, Thomas, is they teach us the rules and the regulations. And I always use this analogy. I always say it's like, you want to go play golf, and somebody gives you say, oh, I got golf lessons coming up. And at the golf lessons, Thomas, what they do is they teach you about the rules, right? You never pick up a club. You never put the ball in the tee. You learn the rules. Then they put you out on the golf course and say, have at it, right? And well, you know the rules, but you don't know how to swing the club. And we really got to figure out how to swing the club if we're going to get the ball down the fairway.
Exactly. I'll tell you, my dad is a great golfer, and I just go on the caddy drinking beer. I know the rules. I can't golf. So I know that metaphor is really close to my heart. And yeah, Wayne, like obviously you're talking at the centerpiece is leadership, of course, not just learning the rules, but knowing how to lead. You're working with brokerages all across, North America. What is
Well, yeah, loyalty. One of our core competencies, Thomas, is retention and productivity. And loyalty is what drives retention. And there's three core, what we call pillars of retention. They are, number one is agent financial success. So agents have to be financially successful. And this is really important because it's financially successful according to what their definition is. Sometimes I think, Thomas, as brokers, we go and say, well, this person's earning $100,000. Let's pick that number. That's good. Well, if their burn rate's 120 or 150,000, and every month they're charging a bit on their credit card or taking money off their credit line, they're going to leave you. So there's agent financial success. There's value we bring to their business. So how do we add value to their business? So they're not coming in and saying, hey, Thomas, you're a great guy, but I could do this myself. I've been at this 20 years and they're all my clients anyway. And so I've got to really learn how to drive value to their business. And the last thing is that I have to have quality relationships. And if I can help them be financially successful, bring value to the business, and ensure that I have a high quality relationship, you virtually will never attrition an agent. That loyalty, as you say, will go on for many, many years.
Yeah, agent retention is a very hot topic, right? Any time, because even looking at how the real estate market fluctuates, every single turn is an opportunity to recruit or be recruited, right? Because you should move now because of this, you should move now because of that, right? So I know that in the independent brokerages, which are the brokers that you're more accustomed to deal with.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think one thing that the cloud brokerages have done really well, Thomas, is they've done a very good job of that agent bringing value to the agent's business piece. They clarify really clearly what their value proposition is. And I think most of the major franchises, whether it's Anywhere franchises, Remax franchises, if you look at or independents, if you look at their agent count, generally their agent count is shrinking and cloud brokerages are increasing, are growing, right? And, if you ask an agent, Thomas, to define the value proposition of an LPT or a Real or a EXP, they will tell you, oh, I get revenue share. Oh, I get shares. Now, traditional brokers will question the validity, if you will, of the value proposition. That isn't what we're debating here. We're debating that these people can clearly express it and that the agents are interested in it. They buy it. And so if that's what your competitor's doing, my advice to you is get good at it yourself, right? Understand how to define your own value proposition in a way that agents consume it. We always talk, when people get into coaching, Thomas, we talk about the three purposes of a real estate brokerage. The first purpose is to deliver services in a way that agents are excited to pay for them, right? That describes to a T what cloud brokerages have done and what people who are not cloud brokerages need to focus on in terms of retention and recruiting.
Yeah, because even in all formats, even cloud brokers, I know they have a membership, monthly membership fee, not through the roof, but also not $2. But I think agents, they don't even consider it, because it's so minimal to the amount of value that they get. Now they're able to do that because they're scalable businesses, and they can offer all.
Well, I think most brokerages, we have something within. So we talked about 7 core competencies. We talked about leadership. Next is business model. After that is what we call uniqueness. It's a core competency, Thomas, and uniqueness is what's different about your brokerage. And we have an exercise that we help brokers go through called the 5 differentiators. And it's interesting because most brokers, in fact, almost all brokers, can't articulate their differentiators when they get into coaching. But what we discover really quickly, Thomas, is they have them. They don't have to invest any more money. They're already there, right? They're just not really good at identifying and communicating them, which we already talked about, the cloud brokerages are. And so, your question is, what do they do? Well, they identify what's unique. There's a specific way to communicate it. They learn to communicate it, and then they start communicating it to both their agents and to competitors' agents, and they'll be successful if they do that.
Nice. A value proposition is something that, like, I'm not surprised with you saying that, because even talking to some real estate agents as well, yeah, they don't know their value proposition. I help them sell houses. I was like, oh, great. You're very different from all of the agents out there. And so I imagine, the broker owners they're not different at all.
No, the most common thing I hear, Thomas, is we have great training. And I always tell brokers, that's like saying, going to the playground when you were a kid and saying, well, my dad's bigger than your dad. Okay, you got great training. What does that mean? So everybody's got great training. Everybody's dad's bigger than the other guy's dad when they're 5, And so we've got to get away from that and be specific.
Nobody's going to say, hey, come join my brokerage. Hey, my training is not that good, but you'll do okay. They'll all say training, and there's one that actually have great training, and then there's ones that don't. One thing that I'm interested in finding out, Wayne, just because people listening right now, obviously we're gonna have some broker owners in the building here looking for to improve their business. We may have some agents or some top producers or some team leads that are looking to take that next step into their career, right? Of course, we were talking about before as a they feel like it's obliged to, but of course it is a potential decision to do it, right? Like you have the business working for you instead of you be constantly selling your next house. How do you coach, or do you, if you coach, but how do you coach owners to?
Yeah, that's another great question. When I think about our coaching book, Thomas, our coaching book is focused on what we call profitable brokers. And what we mean by that is, in order to qualify, frankly, to be a coaching client, you have to be focused on or committed to creating a profitable broker. So in other words, there's some people that just want to sell houses. They want to own a company. They want to be the boss. They want to have, go to cocktail parties and say, hey, I'm an owner, and which is great. But they don't have it. They're not bothered by having to sell a couple of houses every year or every month to subsidize the business. That is not our focus. Our focus is people who want to be profitable. So, if an agent was thinking about getting into the real estate brokerage business, here's a few things I would say. Number one is, it's the best business in the world. It's fantastic. It's better today than it's ever been before. And that might be an odd thing for people to hear, because brokers complain, gosh, it's not like the good old days. I've been at this 41 years. I look at hundreds of financial statements of brokerages of all sizes every single year. Let me tell you, without any hesitation, this is the best time, the most profitable time to be in the real estate brokerage business, full stop. I think that's the first thing as an agent. And, you talked a few times about talked in your question about not having to sell houses. What I wanted to achieve when I started a brokerage, Thomas, was a scalable profitable business. And what that meant was, and what I loved about brokerage is two things. Number one is when the phone rang, I didn't have to lace up my shoes. When I was an agent and the phone rang, I had to lace up my shoes. And I was a good agent. I made a lot of money selling real estate. But I didn't have to did not have to lace up my shoes. And when I got into brokerage, I had young kids. So that was really appealing to me. But that wasn't the biggest benefit. And I think this is a benefit most agents don't realize. The biggest benefit to me was this. If I wanted to increase my income, I didn't have to start from zero every year. So let's say when I was an agent and I earned 500,000 and I wanted to earn 600,000 next year, we're coming up to January 1st. Let's say my goal for 2026 is 600,000. The first thing I got to do is I got to go out and earn the 500,000 again. I start from zero, right? As a brokerage, if I have a $500,000 profit and I want to earn 600,000, I just have to add 100. When I start January 1st, I've already got my 100,000 in the bank. Sorry, my 500,000 in the bank. It's already occurring. And so that gives you tremendous leverage. And actually there's a third reason, and that is you have cash flow you can sell. That when you work hard and you create a repeatable cash flow, you can sell it. And agents still haven't mastered there isn't a model that I've seen anyways in the industry, and I doubt it exists, where agents are able to sell their business for cash, right? Sure, there's earn out models and all of those kinds of good things, but brokers get money. When they want to exit, they get money. And that's what I wanted. In fact, I sold my brokerage in 2002, and it gave me the ability to go out and do a bunch of wonderful things with my life.
Nice. And yeah, and that was, we talked about, buying and selling brokerages with your partner, Norma Rawlings. So anyone that wants to get into the weeds of that, you can go and check out that episode. No, obviously we're going in when talk about, inner circle, broker coaching. Can you share with us maybe a success story, maybe something inspirational that obviously with your.
What's exciting, Thomas, back to the purpose and kind of helping people not have to go through what I went through. I think one of the things I'm most proud of is our average length in program is over 7 years. So people stay in our program for 7 years on average. We've got clients every month. We have workshops, coaching workshops, and every month at our coaching workshop, we celebrate anniversaries. And last in October, where we talked about November anniversaries, there was a 20-year member, 2 10-year members, 2 9-year members. And so those are exciting, right? Because we're able to walk with those folks through those. And people don't come back, Thomas, because we don't produce results. They come back because we produce results. The 9-year member came to us brand new, like, as you said, 5 years out of the gate. And 5 agents, I should say, out of the gate. So brand new. And today they have 165 agents and are living their dream, what they want to do. So we've got sort of those startup folks to scalable, profitable businesses. And then we've got people that started with us in the hundreds and have gone to 1,000, and so we've got so many success stories that are not, they're business related, yes, but the purpose of the business is that it serves the shareholder. And to me, that's the most exciting, right? Is to watch people be able to live out their dreams and have a front row seat and helping them do it.
Nice. Amen. Awesome. And I mean, if people want to get in touch with you and see and get a little taste of what it means to upscale their brokerage, what it means to grow their brokerage, what it means to actually reach good margins with their brokerage, like how can they get a hold of you?
My advice, Thomas, would be just to go to our website. It's very simple to remember. It's what we do, realestatebrokercoaching.com. And there's so many free resources there. There's health checks where they can, pick a competency of their business and do a live health check where they get it based on their responses and how they rate themselves. They get a customized report back to how to improve that competency. There's guides. We have, For example, we just released the profitability guide, what we call the profit playbook. It's 16 pages on how to drive profitability. All of those kinds of things are available at realestatebrokercoaching.com for free. So I would tell them to go there. We really created it as a resource for brokerages to get free resources. And actually, was just thinking about it as well. Search my name on YouTube. There's probably, there's hundreds of videos, again, instructional videos on how to drive profitability, growth, and scalability in the real estate business. And it's all there for the taking.
Just not as good as this episode, but yeah, I bet they'll be somewhat good. But as you guys can see, don't make Wayne tie his laces just yet. You have plenty of resources ready for your consultation on the website. We'll make sure to put the website in the show descriptions, and it's only up to you. It's literally only up to you that the change that you want to make is there for the taking. And then if you want to, of course, get in touch with Wayne, you should find those details along the website as well. Wayne, thank you so much for being on the podcast. It was great having you a guest. Would you care to leave us with one last piece of advice for broker owner success? Let's call it even 2026.
Yeah, and I think for what it's worth, I think it'll be a slightly better year, Thomas. But one of the things brokers need to realize or understand, back to kind of being a student of history, it generally takes about 5 years to go from a low transaction market to a medium transaction market. And so what does that mean in terms of advice? My advice would be, don't settle for second best. We've got clients achieving best practice profitability in this market, doing great. And it's not, they didn't just wake up one morning and kind of fall into it. It's a strategic, planned approach that allows them to do so. So my message to your both agents and brokers would be, hey, don't settle for second best. Set some big goals for next year. Understand the market is what the market is. Our job is to operate and drive profitability in whatever market.
Nice. I always like to make the comparison to what a SWOT is, right? SWOT, we have, the strength, the weaknesses, and then we have external factors, right? And external factors, they can be determined as opportunities or threats, but you can turn any threat to an opportunity, right? So it only depends on you. External factors are not made to be excuses, are made to be opportunities. And thank you, Wayne, for coming on the show. Thanks, everyone. And I'll see you guys next week.
Thank you, Thomas.